You didn't stumble upon this audiobook by accident. Something inside you is searching for clarity, for strength, for meaning. Here at Audiobook Light, we don't just read books. We speak to the quiet part of you that's ready to grow. So put on your headphones and let's begin the journey within. Subscribe now if you're ready to grow in silence and rise with intention.
Life is all about choices. I used to believe life was something that happened to us like weather, like chance, like fate. I thought I was a passenger in a vehicle I did not design, moving down roads someone else paved, reacting to turns I did not choose. And maybe that is how many of us are taught to live. We inherit beliefs, routines, and stories that tell us we are small, that we must survive, not create, that the winds of life decide who we become. But that is a lie. A beautiful, seductive lie and a deadly one. Because the truth is harder to swallow, but far more liberating. Life is not something that happens to us. Life is what we choose moment by moment, thought by thought, breath by breath. Every morning we wake up at a crossroads. Sometimes it is subtle. Do I hit snooze or rise in purpose? Do I scroll in distraction or begin in gratitude? Other times it is massive. Do I walk away or stay one more time? Do I trust the whisper of my soul or do I numb it again to keep the peace? Life is a series of invisible decisions, and each decision stacks like bricks, building either a prison or a palace. But most people never see the architecture of their own becoming because they do not believe their choices matter. So they live reacting instead of responding, existing instead of directing, hoping instead of deciding. I have been that person, the one who outsourced their power, the one who waited for a sign of savior or a stroke of luck. I have prayed for change while making none. I have wished for better while choosing worse. And I have suffered not because I was cursed, but because I was passive. Passivity is the enemy of destiny. It wears the mask of patience, but is really surrender to fear. And fear, if left unchecked, will turn your life into a loop of different days, same regrets, same silence, same ache. But then comes a moment, sometimes born from rock bottom, sometimes from revelation, when you finally see you are not powerless. You are not stuck. You are not waiting. You are choosing. You always have been. And that truth, once it lands, splits your world open. Because if you are choosing your current life, that means you can also choose a new one. That is the core philosophy of this book. Your power is your power to choose. That is it. Not talent, not luck, not status. Choice. The quiet act of directing your attention, energy, belief, and time deliberately. You are always choosing whether you know it or not. You choose what to focus on. You choose what story to tell yourself. You choose whether to get bitter or better, whether to play small or rise up. And every time you choose, you vote for the future you are building. So then the question is not, will I succeed? The question is, will I choose the person I need to become long enough to see success unfold? Because becoming is not random. It is the result of 1,000 small decisions to show up, to stay grounded, to say no when it is easier to say yes, to walk away when silence is louder than apology. You build a life the same way you build a body, through consistent choices, not dramatic intentions. I have sat in rooms where everyone was more gifted than me, smarter, louder, more confident, but I made the better choices. I stayed when they quit. I listened when they talked. I sacrificed when they spent. I chose discipline over distraction, vision over vanity. And over time, those choices turned into character. And character creates outcomes. If you want to know where your life is going, do not look at your dreams, look at your choices. What are you doing when no one watches? How do you speak to yourself when you fail? What do you say yes to out of guilt? What do you delay out of fear? These are the questions that shape your direction. Most people want a better life, but they are not willing to make better choices. They want freedom, but refuse responsibility. They want love, but settle for comfort. They want abundance, but keep choosing lack in thought, word, and behavior. But you are different, or you would not still be reading. You are ready to reclaim your choices, to reclaim your mind, to take radical ownership over your energy and your environment. This is not easy. It is not glamorous, but it is everything. Because the day you stop blaming and start choosing is the day your life changes forever. Let me tell you something I learned too late. Every choice you avoid today becomes a consequence you must carry tomorrow. Silence stacks, delay compounds, and regret is just the echo of the choices we were too scared to make. But there is hope. Because the moment you begin choosing differently, even quietly, even privately, life begins responding. Not instantly, but inevitably. You shift the energy, you shift the standard, you shift the story. It begins with one choice, the choice to no longer live numb, the choice to feel your life again, to say yes when it scares you, to say no when it costs you peace, to walk away when staying is killing you, to show up when quitting is easier. That is where power lives, in the unseen, in the uncelebrated, in the decision you make right now. This book is not here to give you advice. It is here to hand you back your power, to remind you that you are not your circumstances. You are your responses to them. You are not your pain. You are the healer of it. You are not your path. You are the author of your next chapter, and every single sentence is a choice. So as we begin, make this vow with me. I will no longer be a passive participant in my own life. I will no longer delay decisions I know are mine to make. I will no longer wait for change. I am the change. I will choose fully, freely, fearlessly. Because life is not about what happens. Life is about what you choose. Chapter 1. The fork in the road. The most dangerous place to live is not in failure. It is in indecision, in the gray space between what was and what could be. In the fog of hesitation, where the soul knows what to do, but the fear of consequence keeps you frozen. You stand at a fork in the road, not once in your life, but every day, every hour, every breath. And the roads are not marked with signs. They are marked with alignment or avoidance. One path leads to the self you were meant to become. The other leads to a life of quiet disappointment disguised as comfort. I remember a moment that felt small on the surface but shifted everything underneath. It was late. I was alone. The world was asleep, but my mind was wide awake, wrestling with a decision I had been avoiding for years, to stay in the life I had built out of habit or to begin building the one I actually wanted. I wish I could tell you the answer came with clarity and confidence, but it did not. It came with trembling hands, with tears, with the realization that choosing a new life meant letting go of the one I had settled for. It meant disappointing people. Walking away from titles, incomes, identities I had worn like armor. But deeper than the fear was a whisper. Choose yourself. That moment taught me something I never forgot. The life you want is always on the other side of a decision you are scared to make. Why do so many people stay stuck? Not because they lack knowledge. We live in a world drowning in advice, but because they fear loss. Every choice costs something, a relationship, a reputation, a rhythm you have grown used to. And so people avoid. They rationalize. They say, now is not the time, or maybe next year, or what if I fail? But deep down, they are not afraid of failure. They are afraid of change, because change asks you to bow to the old, you not in theory, but in practice. The fork in the road is a sacred place. It exposes what you truly believe about yourself. Do you believe you are worthy of more? Do you believe you can survive the stretch? Do you believe your peace is more valuable than their approval? Every choice you make is an answer, and every answer echoes for years. Here is the truth no one tells you. Not choosing is also a choice. When you do not leave the job that drains you, you are choosing to shrink. When you stay silent in a relationship that kills your spirit, you are choosing to abandon yourself. When you keep putting off the work you know you are here to do, you are choosing regret. And regret is the most expensive consequence of all, because it does not charge you once. It charges you daily in what-ifs and could-have-beens, in the heaviness of knowing you betrayed your own soul. You might ask, how do I know which choice is right? The answer is simple. The right choice is the one that requires your courage, not your comfort. The one that expands you even if it stretches you. The one that aligns with your highest truth, not your oldest fear. And you know it. You have always known it. You just need to become the kind of person who acts on that knowing. Think of the people you admire, the ones whose lives shine with authenticity and strength. They did not arrive by accident. They chose. They walked through fire. They said no to what numbed them. They said yes to the unknown. They took the risk. They left the crowd. They paid the price. And that is why they now live in peace. Because peace is not the absence of struggle. It is the reward for making aligned choices consistently, unapologetically, privately. Let me offer you this. Your future self is already watching you. That version of you, clearer, freer, bolder, is cheering for you right now, saying, choose the higher road. I am waiting. And every time you make a choice that honors your soul, you come closer to that version. You feel stronger, lighter, cleaner inside. That is the sign, not that the path is easy, but that the burden is holy. You were never meant to live stuck in analysis, spinning in doubt, pretending the pain will pass if you just wait long enough. Pain does not pass. It deepens until you act, until you draw a line and say no more. That is when healing begins. That is when clarity comes. Not before the choice, but after. So what will you choose today? Not in theory, in practice. Will you choose to rise early, even when it hurts? Will you choose to have the hard conversation, even when your voice shakes? Will you choose to end what is killing you if you are scared of being alone? Will you choose to start even if you are still unsure? The road will not choose you. You must choose it. And once you do, life begins to rearrange around your decision. Here is the secret no one sees. Every time you choose in alignment with your soul, life gets louder in your favor. Opportunities open, resources appear, people shift. Not because magic happens, but because you did, because you finally moved. And movement is magnetic. You are not weak for hesitating. You are human. But you do not have to stay in hesitation. You can choose clarity. You can choose motion. You can choose truth. The fork in the road is not a test. It is a gift. It reveals you to yourself. And now that you see it, you cannot unsee it. You cannot unknow what is asking to be chosen. So choose, even if it costs you comfort, even if it costs you company, even if it costs you control. Because what you gain is worth infinitely more your own life. Fully lived, fully felt, fully chosen. Chapter 2, the pain of not choosing. There is a kind of suffering that most people never talk about. It does not scream. It does not bleed. It does not show up in headlines or hospital beds. But it is real and it is everywhere. It is the quiet ache of the unlived life, the dull pain of indecision, the erosion of aliveness that happens not when life hits you, but when you keep hitting the pause button on the very things that could set you free. You may not notice it at first. It starts slowly. You say, I will wait until I am ready, or now is not the time, or let me just get through this season. You silence the voice inside you for what seems like a practical reason. You trade one more day for one more excuse. But time has a way of exposing avoidance. And what was once a whisper of intuition becomes a roar of regret. You look around and realize your life is filled with things you never truly chose. A job you settled for, a relationship you stayed in too long, a body you stopped honoring, a gift you never used, and worst of all, a version of yourself you have grown to tolerate but never truly became. You see, we were not designed to live halfway. We were made to choose, to decide, to commit, not to perfect outcomes, but to honest alignment. And when we do not choose, we begin to suffer in ways we cannot always explain. We lose our edge, our sparkle, our energy. We wake up tired even after a full night's sleep. We move through the day like ghosts in our own homes. We pretend, perform, postpone, and inside we know. We know we have unfinished business with our own becoming. There is a lie we tell ourselves that keeps us stuck. Not now, but not now is rarely followed by now. It becomes a pattern, a posture, a personality. Before long, it is not just a decision you delayed, it is a life you deferred. And the longer you delay, the more familiar the delay becomes. Until one day choosing feels foreign, and freedom feels like a myth. I once met a man who had a dream of opening a small retreat center. He talked about it for years, planned it, sketched it out in his journals, but he never moved. He waited for clarity, for safety, for certainty. Decades passed. One afternoon, with tears in his eyes, he told me, "The pain now is not that I failed. It is that I never even tried." That is the pain of not choosing. It is not failure. It is the absence of evidence. The grief of not knowing who you could have become if you had just said yes to yourself. That is the danger. You can get so used to living in limbo that you begin to decorate it. You build routines around avoidance. You build relationships around mutual stagnation. You tell yourself stories that normalize your delay. It is too late. It is too risky. It is too hard. But deep down, your soul is not fooled. It is waiting. It is aching. It is screaming beneath the surface of your polite smile. The cost of indecision is cumulative. It adds up. It shows up in your health, in your bank account, in your relationships, in your peace of mind. And yet we keep hoping that clarity will come without choice, that the clouds will part and we will suddenly feel ready. But readiness is not something you wait for. It is something you choose. In the middle of fear, in the absence of guarantees, in the silence between what is and what could be. Every breakthrough begins with a moment of radical honesty, a moment when you stop explaining your delay and admit your fear, a moment when you stop hiding behind the opinions of others and admit your desire, a moment when you say, I do not know how. I am not sure I am enough, but I choose to move anyway. That is where power begins, not in knowing, but in choosing despite not knowing. And yes, it will be uncomfortable. Choosing always is. It is the end of hiding, the end of excuses, the end of waiting for permission. But on the other side of that discomfort is something sacred: movement, energy, alignment, life. Because life responds to movement, not to perfection, not to planning, to motion. And every step you take, no matter how small, begins to change the weather of your life. Let me say something hard and holy. If you do not choose your life, someone else will choose it for you. They will decide what you believe, how you live, who you marry, what you tolerate. And one day you will look in the mirror and not recognize the person staring back, not because they are bad, but because they are borrowed. A collage of expectations, fears, and compromises that never truly belong to you. But it is not too late. It never is. The moment you choose, you begin to return to yourself. The moment you act, you begin to heal. And yes, it will cost you your comfort, your image, your illusions. But what you gain is priceless clarity, confidence, congruence, a life that feels like your own. So today, let yourself feel the pain of not choosing, not to drown in it, but to wake up in it. Let it move you. Let it stir something ancient inside you that remembers you were made for more than drifting. You were made to decide, and your next decision can be the one that sets it all in motion. You are not weak for hesitating. You are human, but you are divine in your ability to rise again. So rise, choose, begin again, this time not from fear but from faith. Chapter 3, the power of saying no. The moment you realize that no is a holy word is the moment you begin to take your life back. For too long, you have been conditioned to equate kindness with compliance, love with sacrifice, success with overcommitment. You have been praised for your yes, even when it was dishonest, even when it cost you sleep, even when it slowly bled your soul dry. But here is the truth. No one told you the most powerful thing you will ever do for your destiny is learn how to say no. Not from anger, but from alignment. Not from rebellion, but from reverence. Every yes is a door. And every door leads somewhere. But when your yes is not anchored in your truth, you find yourself walking down hallways that were never meant for you, working in jobs that shrink you, sitting in rooms that silence you, keeping company with people who love the version of you that stays small. And every step you take in those places chips away at the self you were meant to become. Until one day you do not even know why you are tired. You just know something is off. You just know something is missing. And that something is you. Saying no is not rejection, it is redirection. Every time you say no to what drains you, you say yes to what builds you. Every time you say no to people-pleasing, you say yes to peace. Every time you say no to the urgency of others, you say yes to the rhythm of your own becoming. You are not here to meet every need, answer every text, attend every event, or say yes out of fear of being misunderstood. You are here to live fully alive. And aliveness has a cost: your obedience to yourself over the expectations of others. I remember a season when I said yes to everything, every invitation, every opportunity, every request. I thought I was being generous. I thought I was being kind, but I was actually abandoning myself in plain sight, because every yes I gave out of guilt became a betrayal of my own center. And when I finally stopped to ask myself why I was so exhausted, The answer was loud. You have built a life around everyone else's priorities but your own. That day, I began to reclaim the sacred art of no. It was awkward at first. I disappointed people. I confused some. I even lost a few. But what I gained was worth it: peace, clarity, presence. I began to hear myself again. My yes became rarer, but it became real. And that shift changed everything. Because when your yes is rooted in integrity, it carries power. It moves things, it attracts things, it multiplies things. A true yes, one that comes from depth, not default, is magnetic. You must understand this. You are not obligated to continue carrying what exhausts you just because you once agreed to it. Permission is required not only to start something, but to stop it, to walk away, to change your mind, to evolve. Growth is not betrayal. It is evidence that you are awake. And when you awaken to what no longer serves your becoming, you must release it not with resentment, but with reverence. Saying no is not a wall. It is a gate that protects the energy you need to build your future, a gate that filters what gets access to your mind, your time, your vision. Because not everything deserves proximity. Not everyone deserves access. Not every opportunity is your assignment. You are allowed to filter. You are allowed to pause. You are allowed to say this is not aligned and walk away without a 10-minute explanation or a rehearsed apology. Most people are not tired because they are doing too much. They are tired because they are doing too much of what does not align. Their energy is scattered. Their focus is divided. Their calendar is full, but their soul is starving. And the antidote is not more productivity. It is more protection of your peace, your vision, your becoming. Let me speak directly to your soul. You do not owe anyone a version of you that requires you to shrink. You do not owe anyone a yes that kills your clarity. You do not owe anyone continued access to a space in your life that was meant to be seasonal. What you owe is your highest obedience to your inner voice. That voice is your compass. And every time you ignore it to keep the peace, you create war within. So start practicing today. Say no to what feels heavy in your spirit. Say no to what disrupts your rhythm. Say no to what pulls you away from your purpose. Say no to what dishonors your boundaries. Not with bitterness, with boldness, with love, with clarity. And watch how quickly your life begins to respond. Because when you master the power of no, your yes becomes unstoppable. You are not here to say yes to everything. You are here to say yes to what aligns with everything you are becoming. And that begins by saying no fully, freely, and finally to what does not. Chapter 4, the yes that changes everything. There is a yes that does not come from pressure, a yes that is not manufactured by fear or driven by guilt, a yes that is born not from the world's demands, but from the whisper of your soul. That yes is rare, sacred, costly, but it is also the key. Because when you say yes to the right thing, the real thing, everything else begins to shift. Doors open, energy rises, clarity arrives. Not because life suddenly got easier, but because you finally got honest. There are many kinds of yes. The polite yes, the panicked yes, the people-pleasing yes, the yes that makes others comfortable while making you smaller. But those are not the yeses that shape destiny. Those are the yeses that build prisons. They sound good, feel temporary, but bind you in long-term confusion. The yes that changes everything is different. It is not emotional. It is aligned. It comes from deep within, from the place that knows this is for me. You will know it when it arrives. It will not shout. It will not beg. It will not compete with all the noise. It will rise quietly inside you like a truth you forgot you always knew. It will ask you to risk, to stretch, to trust. It will often scare you, not because it is wrong, but because it is real. Real, yes, always brings a holy tension. The ache of stepping into the unknown. The grief of leaving behind what you have outgrown. But that tension is sacred. It is proof that your old life is trembling because your new one is being born. The yes that changes everything will always require a no that costs something. That is the trade. You cannot say yes to freedom without saying no to familiarity. You cannot say yes to growth without saying no to comfort. You cannot say yes to purpose without saying no to performance. You cannot say yes to your soul without saying no to their version of you. And that is where most people stay stuck, not because they do not hear the call, but because they fear the costs. But here is what they forget: not choosing waste more. Every delayed yes is an invitation you ignore. Every moment you wait to honor your knowing is a moment you deepen the gap between your current life and your destined one. You think you are being wise by waiting, but you are not waiting. You are wilting. And life, your true life, is not found in more delay. It is found in the yes you are afraid to say. Say it anyway. Say yes to the dream that scares you. Say yes to the discipline that shapes you. Say yes to the boundary that frees you. Say yes to the silence that heals you. Say yes to the calling that will not leave you alone. You do not need a committee. You do not need consensus. You do not need every step mapped out. You only need to say yes fully, finally, and without apology. When you say yes to the right thing, the wrong things fall away. People who were never meant to walk with you and begin to exit. Habits that dulled your spirit start to break. Rooms that once felt magnetic begin to feel hollow. Do not resist that unraveling. It is holy. It is not punishment. It is pruning. Your yes is making space for more, not just more success, but more alignment, more presence, more peace. I remember the moment I said yes to the life I live now. It was not dramatic. There was no music, no witness, just a quiet night, a tired heart, and a question I could no longer avoid. Well, I live the life I know is mine, or keep pretending. Can't. The moment I said yes, everything changed. Not overnight, but over time. Because a real yes does not bring instant fruit. It brings a new root. And that root, when protected and watered and trusted, begins to grow something unshakable. Your yes must become your lifestyle. Not a mood, not a phase, a foundation. Something you return to when doubt knocks. Something you stand on when fear screams. Something you breathe into your mornings and bleed into your evenings. Let it guide your choices. Let it filter your commitments. Let it anchor your boundaries. Let it become the voice you trust when every other voice tries to convince you to settle. Let this be the moment your yes becomes more than a whisper. Let it become a roar inside your spirit. A declaration that says, I am done pretending. I am done waiting. I am done living half alive. Say yes to the life that matches your calling. Say yes to the habits that mirror your potential. Say yes to the solitude that rebuilds your soul. Say yes to you, not the version they expect, but the one you keep hiding beneath your own hesitation. Because here is the truth: your life is not waiting for more signs. It is waiting for your yes. Say it now, say it fully, and let that yes become the moment everything changes. Chapter 5. The trap of the in-between. There is a space more dangerous than failure, more exhausting than loss. It is the in-between, but the space where you have outgrown your old life but have not yet stepped fully into the new one, where you have said no to what is killing you but not yet said yes to what will resurrect you. This place looks safe, but it is suffocating. It is full of distraction, delay, and disguised fear. You are not who you were, but you are not yet who you are becoming. And so you drift, aware of the pull but uncertain of the path. The in-between is seductive. It lets you feel like you are making progress because you are no longer in pain. But numbness is not healing. Numbness is a warning sign that your soul is waiting for you to move, waiting for you to decide, waiting for you to trust what you already know. Most people live here forever, too afraid to go back, too uncertain to go forward. And so they create lives that look full but feel hollow. They decorate their indecision with productivity. They spiritualize their fear by calling it patience. But what they are really doing is hiding. You were not made to live in limbo. There is nothing noble about staying stuck, nothing honorable about waiting on a sign when your spirit has already spoken. You know what to do, but knowing is not enough. The bridge from knowing to becoming is choice, daily choice, decisive choice, aligned choice. Without it, knowledge becomes torment. You see the vision, you feel the pull, but you never cross. And eventually that vision turns into bitterness, because nothing hurts more than a dream deferred by your own indecision. I know what it is like to live in the in-between, to feel the fire inside you, but keep choosing the comfort that numbs it. To say, I just need more time, when time is not what you need. What you need is permission. Permission to leave the middle. Permission to stop explaining. Permission to move toward the life that matches your capacity. But no one will give it to you. You must give it to yourself. And here is what they do not tell you. The in-between is not just a season. It is a test, a mirror. It shows you who you trust, your fear or your future, your comfort or your calling, your excuses or your embodiment. The ones who rise are not the ones who feel the most certain. They are the ones who choose before certainty arrives, who act when it still feels blurry, who move when the ground is still shaking beneath them. Because here is the law of life: clarity comes through movement. You do not find your next step by waiting. You find it by walking. You find it by deciding. You find it by saying, I do not have all the answers, but I will no longer live in between. That moment, that declaration begins to change everything. You may not feel it at first, but your energy will shift. Your focus will return. Your alignment will deepen. And life will respond. It always does. Let me be clear. The in-between is not the enemy. It is the initiation. It is the wilderness where everything false falls away, where your identity is stripped, where your clarity is refined. But it is not meant to be your home. It is meant to break the version of you that was never real, so the real one can rise. That is the only reason it exists. So if you are in it now, do not numb it. Do not rush it, but do not settle in it either. Pass through it awake, honest and ready. There was once a woman who sat in the in-between for years. She had the talent, the ideas, the connections, but she kept telling herself she needed more confidence, more clarity, more proof. One day she looked in the mirror and whispered, no more waiting. That day she made a decision, one small yes, and from that one yes came 10 more, then 100, and now she stands in the life that once felt impossible. Not because the path became easy, but because she chose to walk it while it was still hard. That is what you must do. You must choose while you are still afraid. You must act before the applause. You must trust before the evidence. Because waiting for the feeling of readiness is the surest way to die with your dreams still in your chest. Do not do that to yourself. Do not betray your future for one more day of safety. Choose, move, and let the future adjust to your boldness. The in-between will whisper, be careful. But your soul is shouting, be courageous. Listen to your soul. Let this be the day you say no more drifting, no more delay, no more living half in. I choose my life. I choose my path. I choose my power. Because the longer you live in the middle, the more your vision becomes a memory. And you were not born to remember what could have been. You were born to embody what is. Chapter 6. The moment you decide, there is a moment, and you will know when it comes, when something inside you refuses to stay the same. It is not a loud moment. No lightning, no angels singing. It is quiet, still, but it is final. Something clicks. Not in your mind, in your soul. And without fanfare or applause, you make the decision. Not to try, not to hope, but to become. You decide, this is who I am now. This is what I require. This is what I allow. And this is what I will never settle for again. This is not motivation. This is not hype. This is the raw decision that separates the ones who rise from the ones who repeat, the ones who wish from the ones who walk. You see, most people never make a decision. They think they do. They talk about change. They journal. They pray. They plan. But they never cut the cord to who they were. They leave a door open, a back exit. And if this does not work, I will go back. And so they stay divided. Their energy split, their mind confused, their spirit silenced by indecision. But when the decision is real, something dies. The old life, the old voice, the old fear. You stop negotiating with your lower self. You stop asking permission to rise. You stop explaining your dreams to people who are committed to misunderstanding them. You make peace with being misunderstood. Because what you are building is not a brand, it is a life, a standard, a legacy. The moment you decide is sacred. You will feel it in your body. Your breath deepens. Your spine straightens. Your eyes clear. It is not about how loud you speak. It is about how still you become. There is no panic, no rush, just presence. You know what needs to be done and you are done pretending you do not. That moment is everything. Because every shift that happens in your outer world flows from this inner agreement. You begin to speak differently. You stop telling old stories. You start using new language. Not, I hope I can, But this is what I do, not maybe one day, but now is the time. You catch your own patterns mid-sentence. You notice the lies you used to believe and laugh because now you see the truth. You were never waiting on clarity. You were waiting on courage. And now that it has arrived, the excuses dissolve like fog in the sun. This is when the work becomes non-negotiable. Not because someone is watching, but because you are. You are watching how you show up, how you choose, how you follow through. Discipline is no longer a chore. It is a reflection of who you are. Integrity is no longer an effort. It is your nature. And your habits shift to match your new identity. You no longer need external accountability. You have become your own witness. From this place, momentum begins. Not all at once, but undeniably. Life starts moving around you. The right people come, the wrong people leave. Paths open, the energy returns. Not because the world changed. Because you did. Because you stopped negotiating with your doubt and started declaring your direction. And the universe always responds to clarity. People will notice, they may not say it, but they will feel it. You walk differently. You speak with finality. You no longer flinch at silence. You no longer explain your boundaries. You simply hold them. Because when you decide, you stop looking for escape. You stop seeking validation. You stop asking the world to make you feel safe. You are safe because you are solid. And yes, fear will still whisper. Doubt will still knock. But they no longer run the show because you are no longer available for anything less than alignment. The decision has been made. The bridge has been burned. The old self has been buried. And what remains is clean, clear, and committed. Let me tell you this, the moment you decide, heaven records it. The world begins to reconfigure around your agreement. Not because of magic, but because of momentum. And momentum is not built on big moments. It is built on daily decisions that match your declaration. When you say, I am done waiting, and then rise at 5 a.m. to write. When you say, I am building wealth, and then track your finances. When you say, I am done settling, and actually land the relationship. That is how destiny is shaped. Quietly, consistently, on purpose. So what are you still undecided about? What part of you is still hoping someone will come and save you from your own power? No one is coming, and that is the good news, because the moment you stop looking for rescue, you become the rescuer of your vision, of your peace, of your potential. You become the one you were waiting for. This is the moment, not someday, not when you feel more prepared. This moment, this breath, right here, right now, decide fully, finally, forever. Because once you do, everything else must follow. Chapter 7, The Mirror Never Lies. There is one place you cannot run from, one place where truth is not delayed and masks fall away the mirror. Not the glass mirror on the wall, but the mirror within. The one you face in silence. The one that reflects not just your face, but your patterns, your standards, your actual life. It does not care about your intentions. It shows your results. It does not care about what you promised. It reflects what you practiced. And when you are finally honest enough to look into it without flinching, everything changes. Because you see clearly who you have been and who you must become. The mirror is not cruel. It is just honest. It does not shout, it shows. And what it reveals is always two things, what you are allowing and what you are avoiding. Most people turn away from the mirror because they cannot bear to admit how much of their suffering is self-selected, how much of their chaos is chosen, how long they have stayed in places they should have left, how long they have tolerated thoughts, habits, and relationships that cost them their future. But the moment you turn toward the mirror and stay, you begin to reclaim something wholly ownership. Because the mirror only hurts when you are still blaming. Once you take responsibility, it becomes your greatest ally. It becomes a compass, a map, a truth teller. It will show you what needs to be dropped and what needs to be picked up, what needs to be healed and what needs to be hardened. Not in cruelty, but in clarity. The mirror reveals the gap between who you say you are and how you actually live, and it dares you to close it. Let me ask you something, not as judgment, but as invitation. If your life were frozen today and the mirror was held up to it, would it reflect the life you were born to live? Would it show the habits of someone who values their gift? Would it echo discipline, clarity, joy? Or would it expose delay, excuses, and misaligned choices disguised as survival? Be honest, because truth is the only starting point for transformation. I remember when I stopped lying to myself. I stood in the mirror and said the words no one wants to say. This is not who I am. I had the accolades, the routine, the reputation, but the mirror saw past all that. It saw the compromises, the tolerated distractions, the silent suffering. And it broke me not to shame me, but to rebuild me. That day I made a new vow to never again live a life I had to numb, to never again dress up confusion as ambition, to never again say one day to what I knew was mine now. And that is what the mirrors offers, not punishment, but permission. Permission to stop pretending, to stop performing, to start living in full agreement with who you really are. Because the mirror cannot lie, but it can liberate. It can set you free from the story that says, this is the best I can do. From the lie that says, Shaj, I will always be this way. From the loop that says, I do not deserve more. You do, but you will only receive what you believe you are allowed to see. That is why you must look into the mirror, not just with honesty, but with compassion. You are not here to condemn yourself. You are here to confront what no longer fits, and then choose again, with stronger standards, with deeper integrity, with quieter confidence, because the mirror is not just a reflection, it is a doorway, and only the courageous walk through. This is why you cannot fake alignment. You can fool people, but not the mirror. You can say all the right things, post all the right quotes, make all the right moves, but if your internal world is scattered, it will show. In your eyes, in your tone, in your pace. There is no branding your way around your own truth. And that is the gift. Because what the mirror reveals, you can finally change. Start asking better questions when you face yourself. Instead of, why is this so hard? Ask, where am I not being honest? Instead of, why do I feel stuck? Ask, what am I pretending not to know? Instead of, when will things change? Ask, what have I been unwilling to choose? These are not soft questions, they are sacred ones. And if you sit with them long enough, they will lead you into a new reality. You do not need more inspiration. You need more integrity. The alignment between your vision and your daily behavior. The agreement between your values and your actions. When that is in place, the mirror becomes your friend. It cheers for you, it affirms you, because now what you see is what you live. And that is the most peaceful feeling on earth, to look into your own eyes and know I am who I say I am. So let this be your ritual. Stand before the mirror each day, not to judge, to align, to ask what needs to change so that this reflection matches my truth. Then do the work, quietly, consistently, completely, because the mirror never lies, but neither does your soul. And when they both reflect the same image, you have found the life you were born to live. Chapter 8. The standard is the strategy. Your future is not decided by your dreams. It is decided by your standards. Not the goals you write in a notebook, but the non-negotiables you live by in silence. The quiet boundaries you protect. The hidden disciplines you keep when no one claps. The line you draw not to impress the world, but to remind yourself, this is who I am now. Because when you raise your standard, life rises to meet it. But when you tolerate less, life reflects that too. Every breakthrough is preceded by a rise in personal standard. Every breakthrough is born in the invisible choice to expect more from yourself, not in arrogance, but in alignment. Most people are not stuck because they lack ambition. They are stuck because they have not raised the bar. They are surrounded by average behavior and calling it normal. They are keeping company with distraction and calling it loyalty. They are performing in a system that was never designed for their expansion. And because they have not raised the standard, they are living in patterns they secretly resent. But resentment is a gift when it is met with courage, because it shows you what you are no longer willing to allow. Your life will always reflect the lowest standard you accept. This is not punishment. It is physics. If you accept clutter in your home, you will live in confusion. If you accept dishonor in your relationships, you will live in emotional chaos. If you accept lack in your thinking, you will live in limitation no matter how much you earn. But when you raise the standard, everything begins to reorganize. Not instantly, but undeniably. The standard is the strategy. You do not need 10 steps. You need one bold decision. This is the new standard now. This is the time I wake up. This is how I speak to myself. This is how I spend. This is what I no longer tolerate. This is what I prioritize without apology. And from that decision, all your strategy flows. Because when the standard is high enough, the path becomes obvious. You do not need to be motivated to do what you have decided is required. Raising your standard is not about perfection. It is about pattern. And your patterns are the prophecy of your future. What you do on autopilot will always shape your destiny more than what you do in rare moments of inspiration. That is why the most powerful people are often the most consistent. Not because they are superhuman, but because they have made their standard their identity. They do not have to think about showing up. They are the kind of person who shows up. They do not have to debate discipline. They have made it normal. You must become ruthless about your standard, not with shame, but with sacredness. Your life is too valuable to be shaped by laziness, distraction, or comparison. You are not made for mediocrity. You are not born to blend in. You are not designed to follow broken systems that reward burnout and call it success. You were made to lead, to live clean, to walk with clarity, to build with power. And that begins not with hustle, but with a decision. My standard is rising now. I remember when I realized my suffering was not from lack. It was from low standards. I was tolerating inconsistency, making excuses for people who drained me, ignoring my own rituals, saying yes to things that fractured my energy. And the day I said no more was the day everything shifted. I did not get new tools. I got a new threshold. And that threshold began to protect my life like a fortress, because now I knew anything beneath this no longer belongs here. This is not about being rigid. This is about being rooted. When you are rooted in a powerful standard, you are unshakable. You stop reacting to life. You start leading it. You no longer ask, what should I do? You ask, what does the highest version of me require? And you act accordingly, even when no one sees, especially when no one sees. Because true standard is invisible until it becomes undeniable. It shows up in how you start your day, in how you recover from mistakes, in how you manage what is not yet ideal, in how you treat others not just when you are seen, but when you are alone. Your standard becomes your signature. And when it is aligned, it becomes your advantage. Because very few people are living from high standard. Most are living from low permission. That is why your standard is what separates you. So here is your challenge: audit your life. Every area: your health, your conversations, your calendar, your finances, your morning, your decisions. Where have you allowed the bar to drop, not because you are lazy, but because you forgot how much you deserve? Raise it. Today, quietly, without needing applause. And then watch how quickly life begins to rise with you. The standard is the filter. It decides what enters your space, what gets your attention, and what receives your yes. The standard is the container. It holds your energy. It protects your future. It creates your rhythm. And the standard is the declaration. It tells the world, this is who I am now. This is what I carry. And this is what I will no longer settle for, not out of ego, but out of alignment. Because when the standard rises, everything changes. Your energy, your environment, your experience, and your entire life begins to reflect the new version of you, the one who chose to rise and never look back. Chapter 9. You are always becoming. Every day, in every moment, you are becoming someone. Not just in the big choices, but in the small, unseen ones. In how you wake up, in how you think, in what you allow, in what you no longer correct. You are always in motion, forward or backward, aligned or scattered, whole or fragmented. There is no pause button on your becoming. Time does not wait for your clarity. Life is always listening to your choices and echoing them back as your reality. You do not need to decide whether you are becoming someone you already are. The question is who? Who are you becoming when you scroll for hours instead of sitting with your truth? Who are you becoming when you settle into silence instead of speaking your boundary? Who are you becoming when you say maybe to what your soul already knows is no? These are not soft moments. These are defining ones, because the person you are becoming is always being rehearsed, even in private. There is no neutral ground. You are either reinforcing the life you say you want or rehearsing the life you secretly dread. Your rituals are shaping your reality. Your thoughts are building a home for your future. Every word you speak is permission or denial. Every belief you carry is a gate you open or a wall you build. You do not become great all at once. You become it in the middle of your mess, in your daily yes, in your quiet no, in your decision to choose truth over comfort one more time. Let go of the myth that becoming only begins when you feel ready. You will never feel fully ready, and that is by design. Life requires a leap, not into recklessness, into responsibility, into radical ownership of your own story, into the uncomfortable space where you stop waiting to be discovered and decide to be defined by your own depth. Becoming is not about performance. It is about permission. Giving yourself the right to start over, to shift, to change your mind, to grieve what was without clinging to it, to outgrow your own excuses, to become so rooted in your worth that you stop asking for it in places that never gave it to you in the first place. I remember sitting in the quiet one morning, filled with confusion about the path ahead. I had done the work, I had made the changes, but I still felt a gap. And then I heard the simplest sentence rise in me like a wave. You are not lost. You are just unfamiliar with the version of you that is now emerging. That moment wrecked me. Because it was true. I was not stuck. I was shifting. I was becoming, and becoming always feels like breaking until you realize you are not falling apart. You are falling into alignment. You must trust this. The friction you feel is not a sign you are wrong. It is a sign you are being refined. When your life starts to shake, do not cling to stability, cling to growth. Ask better questions. What am I shedding? What am I learning? What identity am I no longer available for? Who am I without the story I have outgrown? Becoming requires grief. You will miss the you that used to blend in. The you that could laugh off dreams to avoid disappointment. The you that stayed quiet to be accepted. But do not let nostalgia convince you that comfort was calling. It was not. It was just familiar. And familiar is not your future. You must begin to love the in-process version of yourself. The you that is still figuring it out. The you that shows up anyway. The you that does not have it all together but refuses to go back. That version of you is powerful. Do not wait to celebrate yourself until you arrive. Arriving is a myth. You are not here to reach a finish line. You are here to evolve, to embody, to reveal more and more of your truth until you can no longer be ignored, not by the world and not by yourself. Every day is an invitation to recommit, to return to who you know you are, to choose higher even if yesterday you chose low. There is no shame in the slow. There is only shame in staying asleep. But you are awake now. And because you are awake, you are accountable. You can no longer unsee the truth. You can no longer pretend the old life fits. You can no longer betray the becoming just to feel safe. So move with conviction. Walk with grace. Let the process shape you. Let the resistance sharpen you. Let the mirror remind you. You are not here to impress. You are here to express the fullness of your being, unfiltered, unapologetic, unafraid. Yes, you will lose some things along the way. Yes, you will be misunderstood, but you will gain something far more valuable yourself. Fully alive, fully engaged, fully rooted in what is real. You are not late. You are not broken. You are not falling behind. You are becoming. And that is the most sacred work of all. Chapter 10. Alignment over approval. There comes a point on the journey where you must choose not once, but every day between alignment and approval. Between being true to yourself and being accepted by others. Between speaking your truth and maintaining the illusion that you are easy to digest. And that choice, though invisible to others, will define everything you build. Because you cannot live in power if you keep shrinking for peace. You cannot rise into your purpose while kneeling before people's comfort. Sooner or later, you must decide what matters more, being liked or being aligned. Most people never make that decision. They stay in the middle. They craft a version of themselves that is just bold enough to look confident, but just filtered enough to be liked. They live a half-truth loud in ambition, but silent in honesty. And so they create success that looks good from the outside, but rots from within. Because approval is a drug. And like all drugs, it numbs your intuition. It makes you dependent on applause. It keeps you addicted to safety. But alignment is freedom. Alignment is clarity. Alignment is the kind of peace that needs no permission and asks for no applause. I know what it is like to choose approval. I know what it feels like to swallow your truth, to stay quiet in rooms where your spirit screams to say yes when everything in you says no. I have kept my voice small to keep the peace. I have apologized for wanting more. I have smiled through discomfort because I did not want to make others uncomfortable with my clarity. And each time something in me dimmed, not all at once, but slowly. And that slow death of self is the cost of approval, a cost too many people are still paying. But one day, and it always starts with one, I chose alignment, not out of rage, out of reverence. I said no without defending it. I honored my boundary without broadcasting it. I let go of being understood. I let go of being the version of me that made others feel safe in their smallness. And that choice, that painful, quiet, liberating choice, changed everything. Because when you choose alignment, you stop bleeding energy. You stop second-guessing every move. You stop performing for love, and you start living in truth. Here is the truth: you do not need to be understood to be valuable. You do not need to be liked to be effective. You do not need to be approved to be free. You only need to be true. True to your voice, true to your standards, true to the nudge in your gut that keeps leading you forward, even when it costs you comfort. That truth, that inner alignment, is your compass. And when you follow it, you may lose followers, but you will find your path. Let me ask you this: what are you still doing for approval? What have you not started because you are afraid of how it will be received? What truth are you still editing so it does not offend? What version of you are you still packaging for approval instead of embodying in fullness? These are not small questions. They are sacred ones. Because every time you silence yourself for the sake of fitting in, you send a message to your nervous system that your truth is dangerous. And over time, you forget who you were before you began performing. But it is not too late. You can come back. You can strip away the layers. You can remember what you sound like when you speak without fear, what you feel like when you walk without tiptoeing, what you believe when you are not being measured. This return, this raw, unfiltered homecoming, is where power begins. And no, not everyone will understand. Not everyone will cheer. Some will leave. Let them. Let their absence create the space for real alignment, for real connection, for real peace. Because what you lose in approval, you gain in presence, in authenticity, in power, in integrity. And that trade is always worth it. Start choosing alignment in the small moments. Say what you mean. Keep your promises to yourself. Set boundaries before they are violated. Rest when you are tired, not when you have earned it. Walk away when something feels off, even if you cannot explain why. These are not dramatic acts, but they are deeply disruptive because they dismantle the part of you that was built for applause, and they build the part of you that is anchored in truth. Alignment is not a posture. It is a practice, a daily returning to what is real, to what is true, to what is yours. It is not loud. It is not desperate. It is steady, unshaken. It does not chase. It does not compete. It does not hustle for a seat at the table. It builds its own table and only invites what feels like peace. So decide today: no more choosing comfort over calling. No more choosing validation over vision. No more betraying your own voice to keep their silence. Let them misunderstand you. Let them doubt you. Let them walk away. Because you were not born to be agreeable. You were born to be aligned, pulled on. And when you live from that place, rooted, unshaken, honest, you do not just find success, you find yourself. Chapter 11. The weight of your yes. Every time you say yes, you carry something. A task, a statement, a responsibility. And if that yes is not aligned, you carry more than you were meant to, not just physically, but spiritually. That is the unseen weight crushing most people. Not the work itself, but the wrong yes. The yes given from guilt. The yes spoken out of fear. The yes that sounds noble but breaks your boundaries. And that weight will not announce itself with sirens. It shows up quietly in fatigue. You cannot explain resentment. You cannot admit in a slow erosion of your peace. Your yes is sacred. It is not just permission. It is partnership. When you say yes to something, you are saying no to everything else that needs your attention, your energy, your purpose. Most people do not realize this, that their life is not the sum of what they do, but the sum of what they said yes to. And the cost of one careless yes can be years spent untangling its effects. A misaligned job, a one-sided relationship, a commitment made to impress someone who was never watching. These things do not just steal your time, they steal your clarity. You must begin to weigh your yes before you speak it, before you promise it, before you give it away to someone else's urgency. Because every yes creates a contract with yourself, with your calendar, with your soul. And not all contracts are worth signing, especially the ones that look good on paper but feel wrong in your gut. That feeling is not anxiety, it is guidance. And every time you ignore it, you are not being polite. You are being dishonest, not with them, but with you. I used to say yes to everything, every meeting, every favor, every request. I thought I was being generous. But I was just being afraid of being perceived as selfish, as unavailable, as rude. I built a reputation on sacrifice and wore exhaustion like a badge. But inside, I was drowning in obligations I did not even remember agreeing to. Until one day I looked around and realized I do not own my life. My yes has been sold to everyone but me. That was the day I reclaimed it. Slowly, awkwardly, reluctantly. I began saying no first with apologies, then with boundaries, then with silence. And something strange happened. The world did not end. The right people respected it. The wrong ones revealed themselves. And most importantly, I began to breathe again. I began to think clearly again. I began to hear the voice inside me that had been buried under the noise of unaligned obligations. That voice is your real compass. And it only gets louder when you stop saying yes to what makes it smaller. Let me say something to your spirit. You are not here to be available to everyone. You are not here to manage people's expectations of you. You are not here to carry the weight of the world at the cost of your own becoming. You are here to honor what you were called to build. And every yes that does not serve that calling is a weight you were never designed to carry. There is no reward for the person who carries the most. There is no prize for the person who bleeds out quietly while everyone else thrives. The reward goes to the one who chooses wisely, who lives deliberately, who protects their yes as the currency it is valuable, finite, and powerful. So before your next yes, pause. Ask, is this aligned? Is this mine to carry? Is this in service to my highest self or my deepest wound? Do not answer from urgency. Urgency is often manipulation in disguise. Answer from stillness, from clarity, from conviction. And if it is a true yes, say it fully. Say it with joy. Say it with power. But if it is not, let the no be clear. Let the no be final. Let the no be enough. Because when your yes is clean, your life becomes clear. Your calendar reflects your purpose. Your relationships reflect your values. Your energy reflects your integrity. You begin to live lighter, not because you are doing less, but because you are carrying only what is yours. You were not created to be everything to everyone. You were created to be fully responsible for yourself. And when you take that responsibility seriously, the quality of your life changes. Suddenly, your mornings feel different. Your decisions feel stronger. Your presence feels whole. And the people who truly belong in your life, they will not just respect your yes. They will honor your no. You do not need to be more available. You need to be more aligned. Let every yes you give be a full-body agreement. Let every no you offer be a sacred act of self-respect. Because your life is only as free as your last decision. And your next decision is waiting. Chapter 12. The choice that rewrites everything. There is a moment in every journey when you stop chasing better answers and start asking better questions. A moment when you realize that what changes your life is not knowledge, but ownership. Not the latest method, but the deepest commitment. Not more plans, but more power in your choices. Because all the information in the world cannot help someone who is addicted to avoiding their own authority. And all the noise in the world cannot stop someone who has finally decided to choose fully, fearlessly, and without delay. That kind of choice does not happen by accident. It comes when you have tasted what it means to live beneath your potential. When you have spent enough time with regret that you no longer romanticize indecision. When the pain of staying the same becomes heavier than the fear of change. That is when you decide, not just with your words, but with your walk, with your schedule, with your presence, with your energy. You choose not just what to do, but who to become. Let me be clear, you do not get to become someone new without letting go of who you were. You do not get the reward of reinvention while clinging to the rituals of the old self. And that is where many people stay stuck. They want new fruit, but refuse to plant new seed. They want new results, but refuse to live by new rules. They want transformation, but not the cost. But the cost is the gift, because what you surrender at the altar of your old life becomes the fuel for your new one. This is the choice that rewrites everything, the choice to take radical ownership of your energy, to no longer blame the past, to no longer wait on the right moment, to no longer hand the pen of your story to people who never even learned to write their own. It is not about feeling ready. It is about becoming responsible. Responsible for what you allow, what you tolerate, what you commit to, what you keep excusing and with a sigh and calling just how life is. No, life is what you allow. And the moment you own that, you shift from victim to vessel. You shift from saying, why is this happening to me, to what is this revealing in me? You stop waiting for something external to shift and begin shifting from within. That is not just emotional maturity, that is the posture of power. And yes, it will cost you comfort. Choosing responsibility always does, because it means you can no longer hide behind blame. You can no longer outsource your agency. You can no longer make excuses for patterns that are slowly eroding your future. But what you get in return is far greater freedom, because freedom is not found in what you can escape. It is found in what you can now hold with clarity, with strength, with wisdom. And when you become someone who can hold more begins to flow to you naturally. Everything changes when you decide to be fully responsible for your attention, for your reactions, for your presence, because now nothing owns you. Not circumstances, not opinions, not emotions. You are no longer a reactor. You are a responder. You are no longer running from fires. You are the flame, steady, focused, controlled, aligned. And from this place, decisions become clear. You know what to walk toward, what to walk away from, what to build, what to let burn. You stop debating with yourself about what you already know. You stop leaking time trying to fix what is not aligned. You stop giving CPR to dead things and calling it love. You move forward not because you feel certain, but because you are now someone who moves regardless. This is the quiet power of choosing. It does not demand attention. It does not seek applause. It just builds every day with precision, with clarity, with the full awareness that what you do now will echo into everything that comes after. You want to change your life. Stop asking what to do. Start asking, what do I really want? Then ask, who do I need to become to match that vision? Then, and this is the most important part, ask, what am I still doing that belongs to the version of me that says they want it but lives like they do not? That third question will reveal the gap. Your job is to close it, day by day, word by word, choice by choice. And the miracle is this: you do not have to be perfect. You do not have to have it all figured out. You just have to be honest, ruthlessly honest, about what you want, about what you have allowed, about where you have been hiding, because truth is what activates change, not strategy, not willpower, not inspiration, truth. And when your choices begin to align with that truth, even in small ways, your life begins to shift. You speak differently, you breathe differently. You carry yourself like someone who belongs in the room, not because someone let you in, but because you finally let yourself be seen. You stop chasing permission. You stop waiting to be chosen. You stop seeking confirmation, because now you are the choice. You are the answer. You are the one who was always capable, but now you are willing. That willingness is everything. It is what separates the ones who talk from the ones who transform, the ones who imagine from the ones who embody, the ones who observe change from the ones who become it. So let this be the day you make the real choice. The choice to no longer be available for anything that drains you. The choice to no longer delay the vision you were born to build. The choice to no longer tolerate a version of you that plays small just to keep others comfortable. The choice to no longer ask for permission to be powerful. Because the moment you choose with your whole heart, not halfway, not hypothetically, the path begins to appear. And everything you need will begin to find you. Not because it was not there before, but because you finally were. Chapter 13. This is who I am now. There comes a moment not marked by celebration, but by stillness. When you finally look at your life and say with complete certainty, this is who I am now. No disclaimers, no apologies, no hesitations. No. You are no longer trying to become, you have become. You have crossed an invisible line between wishing and walking, between dreaming and doing, between someday and now. It does not mean everything is perfect. It means everything is aligned. And that is the highest form of success, a life that reflects your truth without contradiction. You do not arrive here by accident. You arrive by decision, by devotion, by choosing again and again when it would have been easier to retreat. You arrive because at some point you stopped making choices based on fear and started building a life based on values. You stopped trying to be liked and started choosing to be you. You stopped performing for love and started becoming the embodiment of it. And when you made those shifts, even in silence, the world began to respond. Not instantly, but faithfully, because the universe always rewards congruence. This is who you are now, not in the sense of titles or roles, but in essence. In embodiment, you are no longer chasing clarity. You are living it. No longer seeking answers. You are speaking them. No longer asking who you are. You are showing up as it, and that shift is sacred because now your presence precedes your explanation. You do not have to prove anything. You do not have to convince anyone. Your life has become the evidence. People may not recognize you. That is okay. They are looking for the version of you that made them feel comfortable, the one who stayed quiet, who settled, who apologized for shining too brightly. But that version is gone, and you do not need to explain her absence. You simply live the new truth. And the ones who are aligned with your future will recognize the light in your eyes, the peace in your voice, the strength in your silence. You do not need to argue anymore. You do not need to explain why you left the job, why you walked away, why you shifted your circle, why you rest more, love deeper, protect your boundaries like a fortress. The people who get it will never need an explanation. The ones who do not will never be satisfied with one. Let your life speak. Let your energy announce you. Let your choices define you. You are no longer someone who moves from external pressure. You move from internal conviction. This is who you are now, someone who protects their peace like it is gold. Someone who builds slow with substance. Someone who does not beg for belonging because they already belong to themselves. Someone who knows that success is not loud. It is clear. It is felt in how you move, not how you post. It is seen in how you recover, not just how you rise. And it is known not in your words, but in your presence. Your habits reflect it now. You do not skip your standards for convenience. You do not break your rhythm to prove a point. You do not chase what is not yours. You do not try to save people who are committed to staying the same. You let life unfold not passively, but with deep trust. Because now you understand urgency is a lie when you are in alignment. Everything that is meant for you will meet you when you are ready to receive it. You speak differently now. You do not just talk about your dreams, you schedule them. You do not wait for motivation, you live from discipline. You do not entertain distractions that once derailed you. Your time is sacred. Your focus is currency. Your boundaries are your ministry. You are not hard. You are holy. You are not cold. You are clear. You are not distant. You are devoted to your truth, to your values, to the becoming you fought so long to claim. And yes, there are still challenges. Yes, the path still tests you, but now you respond from identity, not insecurity. You move from principle, not pressure. You speak from alignment, not anxiety. Because when you know who you are, everything else loses its grip. The noise fades. The old cravings dissolve. The temptations no longer tempt. Because you have tasted a life that is true and nothing false will satisfy you again. Let me speak this over your life. You are the calm now. You are the clarity now. You are the mountain in the storm, the mirror for those still searching, the standard for those who forgot they were allowed to rise. You are not better than anyone. You are just finally in agreement with your own essence. And that agreement creates power. Quiet power, lasting power, the kind of power that does not shout because it does not need to. This is who you are now, someone who refuses to go back to what they had to heal from. Someone who will not trade presence for popularity. Someone who has made peace with being misunderstood in exchange for being whole. Someone who chooses alignment over approval, responsibility over resentment, peace over performance. You walk with purpose, not to impress, but because you no longer wander. You create with fire, not to prove, but because you can no longer stay silent. You love with depth, not to be loved back, but because love is your default state. And you rise not as a rebellion, but as a return. A return to the truth that was always there beneath the noise. You were never becoming something new. You were remembering who you already were. This is who you are now, and nothing less will ever feel like home again. The mindset reset, stop here. Not to pause the journey, but to anchor it. You have walked through fire. You have chosen truth over comfort. You have let go of identities that no longer fit and picked up the mirror of your own becoming. And now you stand at a new edge, not of more knowledge, but of more responsibility. Because with every new level of clarity comes a new demand: live it. Not talk about it, not write about it. Live it fully, boldly, relentlessly. This is not the time to gather more wisdom. It is the time to become it. This is not the place for more seeking. It is the place for embodying. You do not need another breakthrough. You need a new standard, not for the world, but for yourself. Because you cannot carry the old mindset into the new reality. You cannot walk like the person who was still unsure. You cannot speak like the person who was still negotiating. You are not in that room anymore. You are the result now. You are the proof. You are the shift. And that means everything about how you move must change. This is your reset, not of motivation, but of mindset. The deep inner agreement that says, from this point forward, I no longer wait to feel aligned. I choose to live aligned, not by feeling, by decision, by discipline, by devotion. Let this moment be your new vow, not to try harder, but to stand taller, not to fit in, but to stand out in silence, to let your energy become your signature, to let your boundaries become your ministry, to let your habits become your healing. You do not rise by force anymore. You rise by frequency, and your frequency is now non-negotiable. Let us clarify the standard. You no longer chase people who cannot meet you. You no longer explain your boundaries to those committed to violating them. You no longer shrink your desires to protect someone else's insecurities. You no longer question your power just because it makes others uncomfortable. You no longer wait for permission to live fully. You decide. You declare. You move. And your movement is the message. If the energy is not right, you exit. If the room does not honor your presence, you leave it without a whisper. If the opportunity comes with the requirement to pretend, it is not your opportunity. If the voice inside you says, this is it, you listen. No committee needed. Because the new mindset is not about aggression. It is about authority, quiet, certain, grounded. You do not need to shout when your presence is aligned. You do not need to convince when your choices are clean. You do not need to run when you already know the way. From now on, you live by alignment, not appearance. You live by peace, not performance. You live by vision, not validation. And that clarity becomes your compass. Every decision filtered through this question: does this reflect who I am becoming or who I was pretending to be? Every interaction measured not by how it feels in the moment, but how it shapes your future. Every commitment made from integrity, not impulse. You no longer negotiate your peace for productivity. You no longer sacrifice your body for busyness. You no longer sell your voice for applause. You understand now you are the system. You are the strategy. You are the solution. And when your mind is set, everything else aligns. Money follows clarity. Peace follows boundaries. Influence follows authenticity. But none of it comes without the mindset that holds it. So make the mindset your foundation. Not for a week, not for a month. Forever. Build your days around it. Build your identity inside it. Let it become so natural that anything less feels foreign. Because that is when change becomes permanent. When the old life feels unnatural, not nostalgic. When the old voice no longer fits your frequency. Let us make it practical. From this day forward, you wake with intention, not confusion. You speak with purpose, not apology. You invest with vision, not vanity. You rest with reverence, not guilt. You relate with depth, not dependency. You create with fire, not fear. This is who you are now, not someday, not when things calm down. Now, today, in this breath, in this body, in this moment. And when the old patterns try to return, you remember, I am not that person anymore. I do not tolerate what I used to. I do not think how I used to. I do not settle like I used to. I do not chase what is not mine. I attract what reflects my becoming. Because the shift was not just emotional. It was spiritual. You have remembered who you are, and that remembering has become your religion. So reset your mind, not for motivation, but for mastery, not to impress, but to embody, not to perform, but to possess your life fully. The mindset is the key, and you now hold it. The final call. There is a point in the journey where you no longer need more reminders, more steps, more plans. You simply need one thing: a call to rise. A call to no longer delay what you have already decided. A call to live now what you swore to protect in private. A call to carry the fullness of your identity, not when it is convenient, but when it is required. This is that call. The final one, not because the work is over, but because you are no longer the same. You do not need to read another sentence to know the truth. You have already felt it in your gut. You have already heard it in your own voice. You are ready. Not because the world says so, because you say so. You are ready to stop circling the same questions and start becoming the answer. You are ready to stop praying for breakthrough and start walking like it has already happened. You are ready to stop dipping your toes in transformation and dive into the deep, where the old self drowns and the new self finally breathes. You are not here to be inspired. You are here to be ignited. Because a life without fire is a life unlived. And you were not created to survive. You were created to burn with vision, with discipline, with devotion. The world does not need more opinions. It needs more people on fire. People who are unapologetic in their clarity. People who are unshaken by delay. People who are unavailable for mediocrity. People who live what they say. That is who you are now. Let them underestimate you. Let them dismiss you. Let them whisper. Let them question your rise. Because the more they talk, the more you build. The more they project, the more you protect your peace. You do not need to respond to every doubt. You do not need to correct every misunderstanding. Your life will speak for itself. Your consistency will answer their silence. Your results will reveal the rituals they never saw. You must understand this: your becoming is not casual. It is prophetic. The fact that you are still here reading this, deciding, breathing through resistance, proves it. Life has not given up on you, and that means you cannot give up on yourself. Not now, not after everything you have unlearned, not after everything you have broken through, not after everything you have buried and healed and built. You are not tired. You are being called. You are not confused. You are being calibrated. You are not behind. You are being positioned. You are not uncertain. You are just being asked to trust your new voice more than your old noise. The shift you seek will not come from outside you. It never could. It is born in the choice you make today to stand taller, to speak clearer, to believe deeper, to move faster. Not to please others. To obey the truth that has been trying to rise in you since the beginning. There is no one left to impress. There is nothing left to explain. There is only this, the decision to be the result, not just of a book, but of your own becoming. Let this be the day your standards rise higher than your fears. Let this be the hour your energy becomes more expensive than your excuses. Let this be the moment your silence becomes more powerful than their opinions. Because you are not chasing clarity anymore. You are walking in it. You are not waiting for alignment. You are embodying it. You are not hoping for freedom. You are living it one choice at a time. And the world around you, the opportunities, the relationships, the resources up us, they will all begin to shift in response to you. Not because you forced it, because you became it. You are the shift now. You are the new standard. You are the example. You are the evidence. So stop asking what the next step is. Start walking like the path already exists. Stop wondering if you are ready. Start choosing like someone who knows what they carry. Stop returning to what broke you just because it is familiar. Start protecting your peace like it is your new home. Because it is. You no longer need to be reminded of your value. You know it. You no longer need to justify your direction. You own it. You no longer need to beg for support. You build with or without it. That is the power of someone who has done the inner work. Someone who does not seek permission to rise. Someone who is the permission. Someone who walks into a room and shifts the temperature not by force but by presence. That is what happens when you stop outsourcing your authority and start living from it. Let the old you be buried here, fully, finally, with reverence, with gratitude, with love. They were the bridge, but you are the builder now. You do not need to visit that version anymore. You are not available for their habits. You are not accessible to their insecurities. You are not attached to their story because your story has changed, and your choices prove it. You rise now not in a rush but in rhythm, not for applause but from alignment, not to be seen but to see clearly who you have always been. This is not a goodbye. This is a rebirth. This is the day you stop reading about the shift and start being the shift. This is the hour you stop preparing to rise and finally walk like the rise has already happened. This is the moment you stop hoping for the fire and realize you are the fire. So breathe it in, own it, and then walk out that door not slowly, not cautiously, but with the full conviction that everything you have been asking for is already yours. You just have to live like it. This is who you are now. No more delay, no more denial, no more disguise. You are ready. And the world is already responding. Let it.
If you've made it to this point, you've probably realized what I have. You're not missing anything. You're not broken. You're not late. You already have enough to begin. The difference now is, will you honor what you carry? Will you stop waiting on start becoming